What's up, guys? Pastor Rob here, back with another reaction video. As usual, I've got my son Gage.
What's up?
And as usual, we're going to be reacting to a song requested by you guys in the comment section of our videos. Today's reaction is to a song by the band Motionless in White. Have you ever heard them?
I've heard of them.
Okay, I've seen the t-shirts. I see them at concerts all the time.
Yeah.
And the song is called Thoughts and Prayers. So we're going to jump right into this one. I don't know a single thing about the band. Just want to hear the song, and at the end of the song, we'll give it a review from a biblical perspective and a musical perspective. Ready to jump in?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Ooh. Like the panning. Heavy. Vulgar.
I don't want this, I don't need this, I don't give a single fuck about your thoughts and prayers. Salvation and destruction, anxiety, a puzzle of pain. More money, it's tragedy, more than worth itself it is. I heard someone down inside of your screen, hiding behind the chasing you see. It's low, where left for you still hide the bodies. So pray for me when you're the one
Clean.
who blames. Don't think of me when you go up in flames. Don't pray for me when you're the one enslaved. How miracles just fantasy. Your pity symphony. Wake up and get up off the knees. Cuffed by Sunday fallacy, crucify the saints and God stop. Run, dead for blood, then you can Lord crown for.
Got a good range.
Don't pray for me when you're
Yeah.
the one who blames. Don't think of me when you go up in flames. Don't pray for me when you're the one enslaved. Now wish me well in your fantasy. Don't pray for me.
Nice riff.
You know that they can't hear you. The holy well is dry. So when you face the truth, open your fucking eyes. Blaming on the violence, you fabricate a scratch. Preaching to fill your pockets, what's your cry is counterfeit. You love to play the victim, cannot even. And you can't unless yourself while you have this crown of shit. Don't pray for me.
Breakdown was brutal.
Yeah, it was. Interesting. What a powerful voice, I'll give him that. Wow. That was I didn't know what to expect. Let's talk music first before I get into my thoughts.
Yeah, I can tell you're itching to tear this one apart.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I think it was cool. Yeah.
it was catchy. There's no doubt about that. Like his
It
style.
was equally catchy and heavy at
Yeah,
the same time, which
exactly.
is hard to do.
Yeah.
Like that breakdown especially was killer. I wonder what tuning they're in because it sounded pretty low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say it sounded kind of commercial, mainstream, but it was really heavy too. So it's like it's interesting, like you just said, it's an interesting blend of heavy, clean, mainstream. Quite talented to make that type.
Yeah,
of
if you
music.
took out all the screams and kept the chorus, put it in a different song,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's catchy enough to be on the radio.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as a diss.
Yeah, it come across that way, doesn't it? Like, this is a pop song. That's not what we mean. Good song
Yeah.
from a musical perspective, of course.
The music video was really interesting too. I think one thing that turns a lot of people away from this kind of music is the visuals. Like, it comes across as very like scary to some people.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I don't think it's cool at all. Like how in some parts he was like kind of mocking, like when he opened up the Bible and stuff. But I will say I do appreciate how like visually defined everything was, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. You had the stark whiteness, and then you had
Yeah.
the blood to contrast that.
Yeah.
You had this sort of spiritual leader represented by the singer in the video.
Yeah.
Talking to his congregation, while at the same time, then you had him in that dark outfit with the vest and
Yeah.
all that, sort of, kind of speaking against that. The preacher person in the song.
Yeah, some people, like I said, might find it scary, but I think it's really interesting to see how all these different visual elements come together, like all the different outfits and like the makeup and all that stuff.
Exactly. I feel like looking at the video. So one of the things that, like you mentioned, the videos being kind of shocking, and I think that has a lot to do with the nature of the subject matter that they're covering. Like, they're very passionate about it, even though I disagree, obviously.
Yeah.
They're very passionate about how they feel about the particular topic. And this topic has been covered in a lot of songs. We've had other videos about it. What was the song by A Perfect Circle? I think it was A Perfect Circle. Liar, Liar, or something like that.
I don't know.
Anyway, the chorus had thoughts and prayers. Talk, liar.
Oh,
liar.
yeah.
Liar, Liar is a movie. Funny movie, but a movie nonetheless. But yeah, it's talked a lot about thoughts and prayers, and we covered that in that video as well. But they're passionate about that subject because they perceive, they've seen it used wrongly so many times.
Yeah.
You know, they've seen leaders, and really the core of this song is really, it's about a leader, spiritual leader probably in this case, who is more centered around themselves than actually doing anything. And that's typically what people mean when they kind of speak out against thoughts and prayers, is this idea that like a tragedy occurs and they'll say our thoughts and prayers are with those people.
Yeah, but then they don't do anything about it.
But they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, I will say they assume they're not doing anything. It's not
That's
always
what it feels
true.
like a lot of times.
True. It definitely can feel that way sometimes. It can feel, but you don't know what they're doing. And honestly, I think that might be a form of projection for a lot of people. And projection is displacing your feelings onto someone or someone else, something that you're doing, and assuming that they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So in essence, it's kind
Dang,
of
you just called me out there.
no. I meant, for the artist, it's easy to go, well, they're doing this for the fame and for the attention.
Yeah.
It's probably because that's what you would be doing it for, right? So you assume they're doing the same thing you'd be doing.
Yeah.
And then they say, well, they're just praying and offering these platitudes and not doing anything. That's because that's what you'd be doing, right? Does not mean that's how the person that you're viewing is doing things. Particularly, like, you think of a church. A church has a large congregation. Well, most of them, have a congregation, have people, and they're speaking to the people and disseminating the information to the people and encouraging the people to go out as well as themselves. But it's bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
So the things they're saying are encouraging other people to action. Now, again, I do understand thoughts and prayers is a lot like God bless you when you sneeze. It really
Yeah.
doesn't have meaning. So I understand why they feel that way.
Yeah.
What I find interesting, though, is that the video is, so they're condemning people who use thoughts and prayers to capitalize on a tragedy for selfish gain. Meanwhile, they use the hypocrite who uses the tragedy to make a song. Does that make sense?
Wait, what?
So-
Say that again?
So they're making so hold on, let me see how I explain this. So they're making a song about hypocrites who capitalize on tragedy. Meanwhile, they're capitalizing on the hypocrite who's capitalizing on tragedy. Does that make sense? They're not doing anything. Maybe I'm projecting, I don't know, but they're not doing anything. They're just complaining about the people who aren't doing anything. Think about that.
Yeah.
You don't do anything. You just say that. Well, you're just making a song about us saying that. You're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Again, it's not. That's a generalization. Not everybody's that way. Some people probably do.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you say it's a little different when they're calling out people who should be doing, who are claiming to do things and they're not?
I'll give you that point. That's a possibility. But why would they have a problem with it unless they assume doing something is what you should be doing instead of talking and praying about it? Right? The assumption is that you should be doing something. If I say I'm thinking and praying about somebody, it doesn't automatically mean I'm going to go do something, right? It just means I'm thinking of ways to do something. How can I help? I don't know. Something happens in Uganda. I don't know. How can I help? I don't know. Send a few dollars. I have no idea. So I'll be thinking about that. My thoughts are with them, and I'll be praying for them because obviously God can offer them the ultimate solution.
Yeah, and I think one reason why a lot of people have so many issues with that statement is because they don't understand the purpose behind prayer.
That's a huge part of it. Yeah, again, to him.
I think that could be the biggest part of
to
it.
him, and obviously based on the song, he's not a believer, and so to him, that's as empty as anything. And in fact, it sounds like he takes it as a bit of an insult. Like, let's go through the lyrics. He says, "I don't want this. I don't need this. I don't care about your thoughts and prayers." He doesn't give a single care apparently, but he wrote a whole song about it. Salvation and destruction. So again, the idea is that when something bad happens, they can come in and save these preachers and teachers or leaders. The video is really focused on preacher, religious leader. But I'm assuming political leaders can be lumped in there. I'm an apostle of pain. I'm thinking that's what he's calling, or he's speaking from the preacher's point of view. There's more money in tragedy and more net worth in self-pity. So you're doubling down inside of your screen, hiding behind the attention you seek. Again, that could be projection. I don't know. They're projecting this idea onto this person, assuming that that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for a tragedy. And there are people like that, there's no doubt, but that's not every Christian. That's not every Christian leader. There's a lot of people like that. I would argue that the whole genre of heavy metal, to some degree, is capitalizing on people's emotional tragedies. A lot of the music's about depression and sadness and breakups, and that you're just writing music to make money. Am I projecting?
Yeah.
I could be, right? I'm just doing what they would do, right?
How do you know that they're writing music to make money?
How do they know the
So many bands start off broke.
Exactly. How do they know the preacher on TV is doing it just for the money? So many preachers start off broke.
That's a great point.
It's a great point. And I understand the sentiment is empty half the time, but not all the time. And it's unfair to make a generalized statement like this and completely throw out a religion because of your perception.
Yeah,
That may not
that'd
be
be just
reality.
as bad as someone throwing out heavy metal because they assume that they're all doing it for money.
Oh, exactly. Or they're all doing it just to be scary or whatever.
There's
or lead people
so
to
much
Satan.
more to it than that.
There's
Yeah.
so much more to it than that. And in this case, they have an issue that they're presenting in a song that is pretty common in a lot of metal songs, so it's almost cookie cutter in a way. No diss. But they are bringing attention to something that they feel passionate about. And I agree with that. And that's what we're doing here. I feel passionate about truth and biblical truth. And so There's nowhere left for you to hide the bodies. I'm guessing that just means he's calling them out. Like, all this stuff's been happening. These tragedies happen. You can't get around this anymore. I'm calling you out. Now, the chorus is the main thrust of the song. Don't pray for me when you're the one to blame. So their position is that lack of tangible action to a problem attributes to the cause. That's what it sounds like to me. Don't think of me when you go up in flames. I'm not sure what he means by that. Is he referring to flames like hell flames? I don't know. I don't know what that means. I have no idea. Rhymed with blame. Maybe that's had to be used. Don't pray for me when you're the one enslaved. So they view religion as slavery to appease a God. So you have to obey a list of do's and don'ts. And the implication here is that they're free. You're a slave, I'm free.
Yeah.
Which is so far from true.
Yeah.
You're not free. You're not free. You're not free. You are a prisoner of your genre. You had to have the blood and all that aesthetic. That's part of your genre. Like, you're stuck in that. You can't go on there wearing cowboy boots and rhinestones.
Yeah.
Because you have parameters in which you operate. And you think about what a slave, like, you think about lists of do's and don'ts. Think about this world. My goodness, you use the wrong pronoun or say the wrong word and you're ostracized. You're condemned and thrown out of the city for the most part. You can have your entire career and future destroyed because of a word you may have said 25 years ago. You may even have meant the word a totally different way, but that doesn't matter. Context is irrelevant. They're going to take it and they're going to cancel you. Cancel culture. And if you want to know how free you are, try not to sin.
That's the big one right there.
You're a slave to sin is what the Bible says. You're a slave. We're slaves to sin. Try not to sin. See how long it lasts. It won't be long before sin is rearing its ugly head and your master is taking control back. You're not free. Because freedom can only be found in Jesus. And freedom from not from sinning, but from the effects of sin on your soul. That's what the gospel gives us. So spare me your pity symphony. Wake up and get off your knees. Handcuffed by a Sunday fallacy. Obviously, it's a diss against Christianity, pretty much specifically, because we meet on Sundays. Crucify the saint. There's another reference to Christianity. The saint in your soul. I guess, I don't know. I guess, if you look at the Catholic view of a saint as, someone who's achieved some level of perfection or something like that, and he's saying, crucify this perfect person you think you are. I don't know. In a sense, kill the perfect person you think you are, because you're not. An addict to plaudit, you get your crucifix. So addicted to applause. You're addicted to applause. Again, this could be you got to sing a band, right? Projecting this idea that the preacher, the religious leader's there just for applause. I got to tell you, as someone who preaches in front of a church, it's nerve-wracking. It's not the most exciting thing to do. It's not like a band where you get to recite the same song over and over and over and over, and you get to have fun with the crowd. It's a new presentation, and not just that, but once you step down from that, you're still in these people's lives. And they're meeting you by the door and telling you what you said wrong. And it's not a lot. I don't want to paint a picture like that. But it doesn't stop once we step from behind the pulpit. We have to be involved and want to be involved in these individuals' lives constantly.
Yeah.
So it's more than applause. Applause, let me tell you, just as someone who's done YouTube for a while and has gained a few followers, that applause was the excitement of all that faded pretty quickly, didn't it? It was pretty cool, like in the beginning, like, oh wow, people recognize us and know us. That's kind of neat. Never a driving force for me, but it literally faded as fast as it came. There's nothing. There's no amount of comments or views that change the way I do anything.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a personal thing. I don't know, but that's how I feel about it. Couple more lines here. You know the dead can't hear you. The holy well is dry. So when you face the truth, open your eyes. Okay. Dead can't hear you. Now, I'm assuming that's a reference. Well, it could be a reference to like praying to saints. The dead can't hear you. That's how I'd read it, and I'd agree. The dead can't hear you. Stop praying to saints. It's not biblical and not even rational based on a biblical worldview. But I'm assuming he's speaking of Jesus, who he would assume didn't resurrect and all that. So the dead can't hear you. Don't pray. Which, of course, I disagree with. No problem. Preying on the violence, you fabricate a script. Preaching to fill your pockets, but your God is counterfeit. You love to play the victim. Can I get an amen? That's clever. I like they threw that in there. Yet you canonize yourself while you wear this crown, which is interesting. Isn't it Johnny Cash used that same crown of...
Trent Reznor did when he originally wrote the song. Johnny Cash changed it to Crown of Thorns.
And his whole thing is that all the valuable stuff he has is worthless. This high level of fame and fortune, and this crown, being a king sitting in a throne, so to speak, was worthless. That's what he was saying in that song, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was an aside, but his assumption here again is that these religious leaders prey on the violence, so they seek these opportunities so they can get out in front of people, get the applause, get the attention that they quote unquote crave. But your God is counterfeit. I mean, that's just an assertion that he couldn't support. But anyway, one of the things too, in that, speaking of the video, did you notice in the video when people were giving their heart to the religious leader? Right? Did you notice that?
Yeah,
he was all white, and everybody's giving their heart to him.
I did see that.
And he put it on a scale with a feather. Did you notice that? So there's a couple things that could be. It could be.
What does that mean?
It could be a reference to the Egyptian goddess Ma'at, which she had a feather of truth that Osiris would put on the scale on Judgment Day, I guess their equivalent of Judgment Day. And your heart, which the Egyptians believed contained your soul, literally contained your soul. That's why when they removed the body parts, they kept the heart in there, and the heart would go on the scale. And whichever way the scale tipped determined whether you got to get in or get annihilated.
Wouldn't the scale always tip towards the heart? Seeing as how it would be, I mean, you need a really heavy feather or a really light heart.
I love how you took that so literally.
Yeah,
so,
maybe that went completely over my head.
It's a feather of truth. So this thing is sort of like symbolic of what's
is this
true.
like an actual thing they did, or is this like
no,
like folklore myth?
No,
stuff?
this is part of their mythology. They believe that when you died, this is what happened.
Oh, like afterlife.
Yes.
I thought
you instead of standing before God, like we believe, they stood before Osiris.
Yeah.
Now you're following. Now you're
I thought
I should have said mythology.
I might have zoned out for a second because I thought you were saying that like when you died, they actually take your heart out and like put it.
Yeah, that's what God does. It's Bible. It's not in the Bible. Thanks for tuning back in to my thing. So Osiris would use this feather on Judgment Day and place it on the scale along with the heart. And if you lived a good life, the heart would be lighter than the feather, or vice versa. I don't know which direction it had to tip, but if you failed, your heart would be thrown on the floor, and this crocodile-faced god would eat it and annihilate you. So that was their mythology and their beliefs. It could be from that. It could also be sort of, it could be influenced by what I like to call the good-o-meter.
The good-o-meter.
Yeah, which is this idea that it's often attributed to Christianity, and this idea that of works righteousness, that basically if your good outweighs your bad, that you get into heaven.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And almost the feather in a way, if that were the case, the feather in a way represents this thing that looks like it should be heavier or lighter than the heart, but it's not.
Yeah.
And you don't meet the standard. I don't know. I have no idea. But that's not how the gospel works. There is no scale. There is nothing. Well, there technically, I guess, could be. You could call it a scale in a sense. Like the scale is that we have to be as holy as God is. Perfect.
Yeah.
Which we're obviously not.
Yeah. And that's why Jesus came and balanced the scale.
Tip the scale.
tip the scale
all the way
Yeah.
into our favor. So if the scale was holiness and we stepped on it, the holiness would outweigh us and we'd be tossed out, right? But Jesus steps on because he's holy. Yeah, I guess you're right. Balance. It would balance out, and the scale would be correct.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that one too. Right? So perfection, imperfection. Jesus steps on, weighs it back out. Everything's good. Come on in. I mean, there's no literal scale. This isn't,
it's just an
mythology.
illustration.
But yes, good. So yeah, but that's the gospel. That's the gospel in a nutshell from a biblical perspective. And I hope that you guys receive that. I hope that you hear that, and I hope that these passionate singers aren't who help you define your theology and your afterlife.
Yeah, that's very important.
I don't know how much thought they put into this stuff. It could very well be that they just want to write a song that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Well, if you've watched this far in the video, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel, visit us on social media, visit our sponsor, Fallen by Nature, Christian Streetwear at fallenbynature.com. This is one of their shirts here. And yeah, until the next video, may the light of the Lord continue to shine on you. Peace.
Peace.